guys are like fantastic researchers of all. Like Mr. S is just his stuff is just fantastic. And I know I the first time I heard about NEO was when I got 3 Facebook messages back in October or September about NEO. And I remember watching one of my old high school classmates saying, do you remember the guy who could have bought Bitcoin at $5 and blah blah blah, and of course, so that was the first time I ever heard about NEO. And then when Andrew got a hold of me, and then I came here and I started listening more and more about NEO, I was kind of happy to hear somebody else talk about NEO, but I got assigned to this guy, and but I like a lot of stuff that I read about NEO, but now the more that I have read into it, the more I think it creeps the crap out of me, and I'll get into that here in a second. But NEO is all about its smart economy. That's its where are we at here? There we go. Big Brother's watching you. I'm going to get into this because this stuff is freaky. Okay, but NEO is essentially Chinese Ethereum. It was launched in 2014 as Ant shares. Last January, maybe it was January like 3rd or something of 2017, got rebranded as NEO. It's the first open source blockchain in China. Smart economy is its thing, and it really wants to be a world unto itself. But there's a price to this. But before we really get into that, we've got to kind of get into some of the nomenclature regarding the algorithm and how it addresses the problem of the integrity of the transaction. So we've talked about proof of work and proof of stake. So proof of work is like what Bitcoin does, where that's it's required to define an expensive computer calculation. That's called mining. A reward is given to the first miner who solves each problem. Network miners compete to be the first to find a solution for the problem. Whereas proof of stake, like NXT, it's the creator of a new block is chosen in a kind of a determined way depending on its wealth. So it's like stake is referring to how much do you own. And point of stake system, there's no block reward. Miners take the transaction fees, and the currencies can be several thousand times more cost effective. The way that NEO has addressed this is the Byzantine generals problem. Does everybody know what this is? Because this is much easier, harder to. This is one of those concepts in cryptocurrencies. Has anybody had a difficult time explaining cryptocurrencies to their friends or family, and trying to like make it simple is difficult? This is one of those other situations. Explaining what the Byzantine generals' problem is actually found a kind of an explanation. All right, because the problem is how do we reach a consensus if there are bad people or untrustworthy elements involved in the transaction calculation process? So, where'd you go? All right. What is Byzantine failure? Let's assume that we have 5 generals, and let's assume one of them is malicious. And each general decides on an attack plan. Like there's a city in the center, all right? That painting I showed was the Crusaders sacking Constantinople. I think that was like the 4th Crusade. I don't know if any of you are medieval history nuts or not, but Crusaders kind of had enough of the Byzantines not really helping them, and just kind of sacked the city for the first time. Anyways, so Each general decides on an attack plan and accurately relays their plan. So you see there's some divergence and difference here on which one is correct. Except there's the random malicious one. He's the traitor. He's trying to mess everything up, and then you can't coordinate the attack, and it's going to fail. So they get a vote. They collect their votes. They assume that each general has the majority. I got something in my. There you go. Now they're going to move. The decision is made. It's going to move based on the agreed vote. Dang it. Where'd it go? Ugh. Without getting into all this jibba jabba, I thought I had the easy one, but anyways, I think I just made this more confusing. Never mind. Anyway, so we have the Byzantine generals problem is different. This is this was kind of the issue that Satoshi Nakamoto, the problem that he solved was a decentralized consensus network, and you basically have really just a whole bunch of people agreeing on a calculation, and enough people are verifying it, and then it becomes the truth. What's the difference between? There's a lot of comparisons between NEO and Ethereum, because NEO is called the Ethereum killer. I think we've heard a lot about NEO, but there's some differences, some similarities, but NEO wants to be a central smart economy, wants digitizing physical assets, decentralized autonomous organizations can be involved. It's like its own system, its own environment. And Ethereum is like the Internet 3.0. It's a platform for decentralized applications, smart contracts, both do smart contracts. It's accessible, free, anyone and everyone. Free is kind of nothing's free. NEO cannot be mined. Ethereum can be mined. Smart contracts. One of the nice things with NEO is that it uses a lot of known coding languages already. Something I did not really know about this, but I think I overheard maybe Mark talk about it, is that NEO has the capability of using a lot of well-known programming languages, and that makes it just a whole lot easier to use, whereas Ethereum has its own proprietary language, Solidity. Not sure how that's pronounced, but it's Ethereum's only written in that. That is it. So Ethereum has one token, Ether. Gas is used to run the Ethereum blockchain. That's the unit of transaction, but the gas is just a part of Ether. It's like if Ether is like $1, then a nickel is what gas is. It's just a small unit of Ether. NEO, I don't get this one. This to me just screams not gonna work very well later on. But it has two tokens. Okay, so you own NEO, and that is you have ownership of like a share of NEO, the blockchain, the company, the smart economy. You are a part owner, but